Call this evening's meeting to order. It's Tuesday, March 3rd, and it's our regular city council meeting. May I have roll call, please?
Mr. Bembas?
Here.
Mr. Blair?
Here.
Mr. Gillis?
Here.
Mr. Martin?
Here.
Mrs. Meldrum?
Here.
Mr. Scarback?
Here.
Mayor Stoneburner?
Here.
All present.
At this time, we'll take a moment of silent prayer. If everyone would please stand for the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May I have a motion to approve this evening's agenda?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We have an agenda. We have two presentations this evening, and we'll start off with the Algonac Clay Historical Society donation to the fire department. And Fire Chief Joe Doan is here for that, and people please come up.
Hi, my name is Pam Allen, and I'm the president of the Algonac Clay Historical Society here in Algonac and Clay. Back in 2014, we received a fire truck that was up on the shelf over at the fire department, and we used it for 5 years, and the city had added on to us as loan. Well, we asked the city, and they did not want it any longer, and we felt that we would then sell it because we could not get it up and running. So we didn't think it was worth much, and we said that at one of the meetings. Well, we were lucky enough to get $1,000 for the truck, and we're going to share that with the fire department, Algonac Firefighters Association, and Joe can tell you what they're going to use the money for. So here's a nice check for $500.
Thank you for your support. We anticipate to purchase new helmet lights for all the firefighters.
Wonderful. All right, next we will have our 2020 high water presentation presented by Justin Westmiller. He is our St. Clair County Emergency Manager, and after he speaks, he will take questions from the public.
And I brought Matt King with me for law enforcement backup, so. Not that we need the law enforcement backup, but in case there's any law enforcement questions.
Thanks for
Appreciate
clarifying that.
So, I apologize that it says 2019, I just missed that in the update, but as you can see, I brought up the Army Corps' 2020 February Lake St. Clair water levels, and the reason why it's the St. Clair, or the Lake St. Clair water levels, is that's what this area is tied to as far as our water gauges and how we decide, or how we plan for water levels in Algonac, Clay, Ira Township, and all of the flats area, Harson's Island, Dickinson Island, and basically all the way up to we get to the bottom end of St. Clair. That's what we use, and then we switch to the St. Clair State, the old state police post, and we use that till we get to the Black River. So it's kind of what we use gauge-wise to understand where our water level is, where it's going, and hopefully where it falls to, because we all kind of want it to dry up as soon as possible. So, as you can see in 2019, we broke the 1986 records almost all summer long, starting in May, and did it all the way through September. In the Algonac area, we saw a couple of days where we hit a record of 578.44, and that was the all-time high on the water gauge in Algonac. So we expect that we're going to exceed that pretty significantly this year, to the tune of so what you're looking at right here, 572, 573, 574, 575, 576, 577. Now, if you understand this, this is the mean lake water level. So this means there's no weather, there's no winds, there's no anything at all. It's just the actual average 30-day water level on Lake St. Clair, flat lake water level, okay? So there's nothing happening to the lake. They expect the mean lake water level to be just short of 578, which will be somewhere approximately 8 to 12 inches higher than it was last year on the mean lake water level, all right? So we know that that's what the hydrologist is expecting, and some reasons why that is. We talked about this in October. I think I was here in October, and we talked about the potentials for that. Where we won one of the battles and we didn't get any ice, right? So we did good there. However, we only had 3 days of sun in January, and I think we met that with 3 or 4 days of sun in February. We had a terrible winter for precipitation. It rained and snowed an awful lot this winter, to the tune in February where we had all of this winter's rain allowance in 4 days in February. Right, we had 4.5 inches in 3 days in that second week of February. If you remember, everything flooded out in most of the county, and we had nowhere to put water anymore. We're still dealing with that runoff actually in parts of the county where we have nowhere to put water still. So we get an update next Monday or Tuesday on this, and I'll be able to broadcast that to everybody. But we are sticking to this at this point. We are not drying up. As you can tell, it rained most of the day yesterday and was foggy down here. So I know, Mayor, you were talking at our meeting in November. You asked the hydrologist, if you all didn't see it, the hydrologist, the mayor said, so Keith, if it's sunny every day and we don't get any rain, do we have a chance? And he was like, well, yeah, if everything is perfect, we might be okay. Well, that didn't happen, man. I am terribly sorry. But there is some good news. We have had a long time to plan for this, okay? And we still have some more time. We know right now that we have probably another 30 days or so for everybody to do things like if you don't have flood insurance, get it right now. Okay, if you're in a floodplain area, or in an area where you can get flood insurance, right now is the time, because you probably have 30 or more days before the high water really hits everybody hard, okay? So take that action if you're in an area where you can get it. Do that now, all right? Start protecting your homes. Right now is the time if you have not already. I know many of you already have with sandbags and things, but this is a critical point now because we will begin to really hit that high water time, and we will begin to flood very, very soon, all right? So that's why I'm here now to really hit home that we are running out of time before the high water really begins to affect Algonac, Clay, Ira Township, and the water will start moving north from this point forward. Because the snow is starting to melt in the north end of the mitten, and we will start seeing snow melt in the Upper Peninsula here in the next 30 days, because they did have a little less snowpack up there this year than they did last year, which is good news. So we'll just kind of have to see how the winter shaped up as we start getting into the spring runoff, okay? So that's kind of where we are right now. We had 175% saturation in the ground right now. That's where we're at with water. There is nowhere for the water to go in the ground, right? It is all going into the watershed, and it's all coming to our delta. We are the only delta in the Great Lakes for fresh water, okay? So it's all coming this way, and so now we understand what we're dealing with. We have to deal with it now, all right? So what kind of questions can I answer? And I'm ready to take care of whatever I can do for you. Yes, sir.
I'm on Venetian Way.
Okay.
And I know that my neighbors had those yellow tubes.
Okay.
I would like to box my house in. Where can I get those?
So I know that there's a couple sources of supply running around. Before I leave, I will get your name and we'll figure out who's got those available for you.
Super.
we'll figure it out for you, we'll help you with that.
One
Yeah.
more
Yeah, yeah.
side
And-
question. My dad's in Clay. He's in Oak Grove Colony and he's backed up to the marsh.
Okay,
He's gonna get it.
yep.
Does he have to go to Clay Township to get his? or-
So, I guess Artie Bryson has information on, they are maybe doing, are they doing another group buy like they did last year?
No,
They aren't?
Justin,
Go
what
ahead.
they're going to do is they have the information on their website, but the individuals need to
Are going to buy
contact
it,
now.
okay. So, yeah, Artie's got that information available. There is another vendor that's been running around. The reason why I wasn't just gonna point you one way is, there's another vendor running around that's got a black, same type of thing, but it's a black bladder that's kinda doing the same thing. It stands a little taller. So I may be able to get you a couple different sources of supply, and then you can decide which way you wanna go. So I'll grab your name and
Okay.
if you have an email address,
I do.
and then I'll get you a couple different pieces of information, and then you can decide which way you wanna go with it,
Super.
okay? And I'm happy to, we're also putting some additional information on our website. It's called BeReadySt.Clair.County.org, and that's our emergency management website. There is a link on the St. Clair County website, but if you wanna go right to the BeReadyStClairCounty.org, that's the emergency management website. We'll be able to share additional emergency management flooding information for you. So, feel free to look there. I will tell you, it's gonna take us about a week or two to update that. I lost one of my interns who was managing that for us, and we just hired 2 new interns, so give me a couple days. She went to Michigan State and left us in January, so, I'm a Michigan fan, so she had to go somewhere, I guess, but anyway. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I had one more. Last year, up at the St. Mary's River,
Sure.
they did a dump. They opened up their dams and it took about 5 hours to get here. But the water came up about 6 or 7 inches in like 3 different steps, and it just came and trashed my neighbors' houses. Is
Yeah.
there any way we can stop that
Yeah,
or get a warning
So
that
they
it's
don't,
gonna come?
they don't have dams that open up there, that's not really how it works. If you had water that washed in a certain way, it's because wind shifted or something like that. When they open up the spillways up there, water would only move maybe a 1/4 inch or something. It doesn't come in 6 inches or a foot or anything like that.
Okay.
There just isn't enough volume if they open a spillway for it to transmit that much down here, it just isn't. It's not enough volume. So, the only way that would happen is if there's some sort of wind shift and it pushed water,
Got
or
it.
there's a
Okay,
meteor tsunami or something like that.
all right.
Yes, sir.
Is there any projections for the following year, or so, should we be just doing something temporarily for this year, or raising the seawall caps and the grades of our yards and roads, everything else?
So, unfortunately, I don't have a great answer for you yet, and the hydrologists at the Army Corps don't have a great answer for you yet, because we haven't even gotten through the runoff for this year yet. We don't know what this year looks like after it's run off, right? This is a 6-month projection. They have a 12-month projection, but I'll tell you how they do that. They model it. So they are modeling 12 months out what they think the 6-month looks like. So we basically need to get through the summer before we can look at what next year is gonna look like, if that makes sense. We just don't know what the runoff is gonna look like yet. We could, and I hate to do this, but we could all hope and pray, right? And that's the worst thing you could do in emergency management is hope and pray, and then get everybody's hopes and dreams up. And then I have to come in here in October and tell everybody, well, I gave everybody super great news, and I basically lied to you. So what I'll tell you is, we need to get through this season and understand how to make everybody, how to put everybody in the best way forward right now, and then we will get to October and I'll be able to tell you what the right way to move forward is then, or at least give you the best information then. Is that fair? I don't want to give you bad information and then you come back and say, well, Justin told us we were going to be great. And then it's just not fair to anybody, because I don't have that information yet, and neither do the hydrologists. If they did, we would all walk around and with our red capes and tell everybody it's gonna be great. We don't have that information yet. Okay? Yes, ma'am?
how do these high water levels affect the drains in the county, all the drains?
Yeah, so they're gonna run backwards. They're gonna flood. So, the drain commissioner and I are in lockstep. He has been working in overtime all winter long to try and clear as many drains as possible to make sure that any drain he's got doesn't flood because they're not clear, but they are gonna run backwards. We have some projections that the Marine City drain, the mainline drain, it's gonna flood to a certain point. And depending on how high the St. Clair River gets, it could flood, pretty far inland. That's just the way water flows when it gets up too high. So they are gonna run backwards.
If your property borders a drain, then are you saying that we need to put sandbags on?
You should protect your property if you are on a drain.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
One last one, is there anything that can be done proactively with like Niagara Falls? Say, let out some more water, because we know it's coming?
Yeah, so on the Lake Ontario side, there is an organization, and they've actually stopped shipping from opening. They've delayed it like a week and a half or 2 weeks into April now. So I know that they're doing some things to minimize shore impacts. They did not, however, vote to release any additional water. Now, I will tell you that is an international decision by both the Canadians and the Americans. And that's something that we in St. Clair County don't have any jurisdiction or push, or we just don't, from our county seat, we don't have any input into that at all. That happens from the State Department to the ambassador to Canada through that body, and we don't have any input to that at all.
Okay.
But there is a body that makes that decision. Now, I will tell you also, that might help an inch or two. It would not provide the relief that we're looking for, at 18 to 20 inches. It just wouldn't. To get us back to a level where it would be helpful. Yes, sir. And I'll come to you. Yes, sir.
I just had a question. I know Clay Township, they did a great job helping us out with the sand and sandbags. I know Algonac did too. You guys are great. Does the county have any kind of funding for that, for sand or sandbags for us?
So by law, the county cannot help individual citizens, but what the county did was, we were the conduit to get a lot of the sandbags to the municipalities, so that the municipalities could help their residents out. So we were all in that together and working together to make sure that the residents had what they needed to get that done.
Okay. What law are you referring to? Do you know? It just doesn't sound right that a county board can't help out the citizens.
It's finance laws, so,
Finance.
yeah. And it all has to do with individual assistance. So under Public Act 390, the state of Michigan can't use governmental funds. And emergency management officials at a county level fall under Public Act 390. And we are not allowed to use public funds to fund private citizens.
But a township.
But a township can, because they operate differently. They operate under municipal laws, and counties and states don't.
And last thing, I have the flood insurance you talked about.
Yes, sir.
But you have to go to your insurance company if you want a rider for your contents. Your
That's
flood
correct.
insurance will not cover it.
Correct.
And it's not that much when I found that out, but you gotta do it 30 days in advance.
Right.
Before there's any damage. So get a hold of your agent and they will hook you up real quick. And it's not that much, and then you get contents.
Absolutely. And I usually say that. I apologize that I didn't. That's normally something I always say, so thank you for catching me on that. So, any other questions from out here? Because I don't want to miss anybody. I've got all the time in the world, okay? And what I'll do is, I know that there's other business, so I'm gonna stay until this is over. If anybody comes up with any questions afterwards, I will be in the back of the room. Feel free to write them down or think of them, and I'll have business cards. You can email me and all that too. So are there any questions from the board?
Yeah, I have a couple, Justin. One is, we're expecting the water 12 inches higher. most people take M29 to work, you know, not all of
Yes.
us work. Are we thinking Dyke Road by the marsh is gonna flood over?
So we actually have plans developed, my office does right now, so in case both sides of M29 are cut off, we have contingencies figured out to deal with that if the entire area is cut off to egress. So we are prepared to deal with that if that either becomes an actuality or it looks like it's in peril and we need to start making decisions. We have that drawn up right now to help manage that situation. And if that looks like we could get in that situation, we will deal with those municipalities well in advance to make sure that everybody's taken care of.
I know right now, my understanding, and tell me if I'm wrong, the bill for the no wake, that Gary Einstein, put in, the House has okayed it.
The House has passed it.
It's in the Senate.
Correct.
Held right now.
It's in committee in the Senate, right?
You know, this is probably not in your wheelhouse, but any idea when that might come up?
So I've got some notes on that as well. I'll just have that right there. So I was gonna talk about a few things that the sheriff's office have done to, try to help in any way we can, right? And it started last year. Last year we swore in, deputized Clay Township officers so they could work on boats to help us with patrols. Bottom line is a Marine Division only has a certain amount of budget and so many boats, and we have a large body of water that we have to have patrols on. So we swore them in as deputies for specific reason to work on their boat, so they could write tickets for the wake laws. We are running at a Marine Academy, so we got some new hires to get some more deputies to be working on the boats for this summer as well. We're hiring a new full-time sergeant. Our previous lieutenant that ran Marine Division typically was a retired lieutenant or sergeant or leader from another agency. This was kind of their retirement job. And by all means, they did a great job, but with having a full-time sergeant who will be somebody that's already in the ranks in the sheriff's office, they'll be more invested, more readily available year-round. And fourthly, I was gonna talk about the law that you had brought up. There's 3 laws actually, House Bill 5401 and 5402 that are pretty much the same thing. 5401 was proposed by Representative Eisen, and I spoke with his, one of his staffers today, and she kind of explained the law to me. 5402 and 5401, the only difference with 5402 is there's some language in there to help the DNR to be able to make these changes, so I won't get into that one too much. And then there's another law that is also passed the House, 5463, and that was by the work of Representative Lilly, who's out of the 89th district. So I'll talk about the laws a little bit to try to tell you what it does and doesn't do. So 5401 and 5402 says that, according to the staffer out of Eisen's office, says that the sheriff, emergency manager, or DNR can request a local municipality to enact an ordinance to change the speed limits on the water, which would include no wake areas. They could make an ordinance saying that this specific area is no wake, and at that point, we could enforce more no wake laws. Because, you know, we can only enforce laws that are there, right? We can know that, hey, this big boat is 600 feet off the shore, and in this area, that's okay for them to make a wake, knowing that it's destroying property, but we can't, you know, write a ticket for it if it's not in law. Now, the law has some holes in it, and that's where 5463 comes in and kind of cleans up the holes. So, again, sheriff, emergency management, or DNR could ask a local ordinance to enact, a local municipality to enact an ordinance to restrict speeds on the waterways. The problem is the ordinance can only be in effect for 14 days. At that point, it can be renewed one time per year, so you can only get a maximum of 28 days of relief for this law. And another hole in the law is that it cannot be enacted between the times of, between the dates of June 20th to September 1st. Okay? Now, before you panic, they're already working on those dates, okay? They realize that that is a problem, and not very effective. So they're working on the dates, and the 5463 law piggybacks 5401, and that makes it so that the ordinance could be enacted for a 6-month period, okay? So if the local municipality said, hey, we're gonna have this ordinance, the sheriff's department and whatever law enforcement agency on the water can, you know, now write tickets for those new areas with lower speeds, and it could be for a 6-month period. Now, the only problem with that law is they cannot enact that ordinance back-to-back years. So if we do it this year, can't do it next year. Now, without taking sides, when laws are written, there's two sides to every group, and, you know, of course, they're getting pushback from some people, getting a lot of support from others. I can say that both sides of the aisle were for the law when it was in the House, which is a good sign, right? We don't have Democrats fighting Republicans or vice versa. They're both for this, so it should pass in the Senate, no problem. I hope that clears up the law a little bit. I probably threw enough, you know, mud out there to monkey it up a little bit, but that's what I read the literature today about 3 times about 3 laws. My head was spinning, because I saw those dates, I'm like, this doesn't make sense. So we did get a hold of their staff. They're working on the dates. They're working on the laws being passed in conjunction, so we can piggyback 5401 to the other one, make it a 6-month period, so we can hopefully get something going that we can enforce more. That being said, I'm not gonna stand here and, you know, say that we're gonna have deputies at every spot 24 hours a day, because we don't have the budget or the boats or the people to do that. But certainly, we can target the areas when they're the problem and have a high amount of ticket writing. We did last year. Last 2 years, our amount of verbal warnings have gone down and down, and there's been more ticket writing, and more signage and other things. So we're doing what we can, and we're trying to improve what we're doing. So if there's any questions on that stuff. yeah.
I have one question, Captain. Does it matter what size your boat is? I know when we talk about no-wake laws now, it's up
So
to
with the-
26 foot and
with
over
the- no,
26
with the new
foot. It
law-
doesn't matter.
No, the ordinance can be written that it just restrict the speed to include a 0 wake.
Okay.
And then that's spelled out, you know, whatever the boat's needs to have power to move positively forward. So you might have a huge boat, and they're just going real slow, but they have to be able to move forward. They're probably not gonna push a wake anyway if they move that slow. But no, it doesn't go by size on that ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
I know that, you know, I boat, we love boating, you know, we make a wake, but, you know, when you have issues like this, everybody's gotta contribute and slow that boat down, because we're damaging, you know, people's property.
Mhm.
And, even though we have a right to boat, they have a right to their property, and not just their property, but city property, township property. So for a couple of years, we just gotta slow down the boats.
Right, and in the law, it says that, while in a lake, that law can't be used for a boat 100 feet off the shore. So it's not like we're restricting people's ability to boat, not 100 feet, or a mile offshore. So if you wanna go and jet ski and stuff, you just gotta get off away from the shoreline. 100 feet wouldn't do much, and some people talk about muddying up the water, sorry, a mile offshore. So it does understand that boaters can still go boat and go out and fish and water ski or do whatever they do. It's just gotta be far enough away from the shore, so.
Thank you.
Is there any regulation, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
is there any regulations on the freighters?
No, there's not.
Okay.
Yep.
So freighters are handled completely differently by the captain of the port, by the U.S. Coast Guard and the Canadian Coast Guard. They aren't regulated by state government at all. So the only speed regulation they have is by the Maritime Transportation System. And right now, in the St. Clair River, their current traveling speed is 12 to 13 knots. They're required to stay below that. Right now, we've asked them to travel at 9 knots, and most of them agree to do that, especially the lake freighters. They've all slowed down to 9 knots. Sometimes some of the salt vessels travel a little faster than that, but no faster than 13 knots ever. And Sarnia Traffic maintains their speed at 13 knots always. So if they catch them going faster than that, they get written up. So they're always going 13 knots or less, always. So.
Excuse me, just for your information, Artie is already left for Lansing. He'll be there tomorrow morning. will be testifying in front of the Senate committee, trying to change some of that wording to get it a little bit less muddy, as Captain said. And the other thing I wanted to share with you is that we worked with the sheriff's department and managed to get posted the laws in this immediate area. Because this area through here is the only place in the state that I'm aware of that has a 600-foot rule. And there's 5 entrances to this area. There's 4 from the lake and 1 from the north. And we had big signs made, huge signs. You took them out, Artie took them out, whoever, post them so that at least the people know what the laws are. My question now is, if a local ordinance is enacted and said that there is no wake in this immediate area, how is the traveling boater passing through gonna know how that is?
So in the law, it says that signage and new buoys will have to be posted in the areas to let people know. And then it has some other wordage about other education, but it nails down that we have to have some signs and some buoys put out to indicate, hey, this is a no-wake area. Obviously, we can't enforce laws where people don't know where they are, especially in the changing current of what's going on right now. So there would have to be some added buoys and signage indicating this area is a no-wake area.
I think one of the other things we did too, if I could mention that, is the lieutenant before had put together some flyers and information and sent that to all of the marinas over in the Macomb County, because I believe that's where a lot of the violations came from. Not because they intended to, but they just didn't know, or were not aware of our laws. And a lot of times, our deputies would stop them, give them a warning, hopefully next time they wouldn't do that. But I think that communication, that education was something that Denise, you and I had talked about.
Yeah, and towards the end of the year, there are a lot less warnings, because it's like, okay, it's August. We've stopped a lot of boats, we've sent out a lot of flyers,
They did a good job.
so, thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other questions?
That's good. Kim, how many patrol boats do we have for like Clay Township, Algonac at any given time? Just the one?
Usually 1, sometimes 2. Obviously, if there's an event going on, we bring them down. We bring more down, but, you know, we have 2 to 3 on at a time. And if you can imagine, down here all the way to Birchville Township, we're responsible for safety and law enforcement. You know, obviously, we have other help with Coast Guard and things like that, especially with safety, but, and law enforcement, but it's a large area. We have meetings with them all the time, and this subject does come up, and, you know, we work with them closely, but it's a large area. And it's a matter of expense and people, you know, and try to get people to come work the boats, you know, part-time in the summer. And we have a great group, but we don't have so big of a budget, you know.
I guess my next question is, how many county-funded deputies do we have? Not contracted to like Algonac or Huron Township, but just county-funded deputies on the road?
On the road, outside of the townships?
Yeah.
I'd have to get a pen and paper out, to be
Okay.
honest with you.
'Cause I was just
But the
wondering-
deputies on the boats are not the same deputies you see in the cars.
No, I know.
Okay.
No, they're somewhat, they're marine deputies.
They're marine deputies, they have law enforcement abilities on the water. So they can't come on the shore and,
Right.
you know, arrest somebody for a domestic or something like that. And they are trained specifically for work on the water.
But a county-funded deputy can go to the water.
Yes, yeah, and certain events we do, like Jobby Nooner or Raft Off, if there's a crime on the water that's more than just, you know, it takes some more investigation, it's more than just a speeding. If there's a fatality on the water or a major accident, we bring our law enforcement deputies from the road just to make sure it's done properly, because the marine deputies, they're not exposed to that too often, right? And if there's an assault on the water, or some kind of a CSC or something down in one of these events, we handle that by road deputies. But to put a road deputy on a boat, to get more deputies on the boats, fiscally would not make any sense, because the deputies on the water don't make, you know, they don't make nearly what the road deputy does. We eat up our budget so fast, it would not work.
I guess my question is, and I don't want to drag this out, but is, we pay county taxes living in the township and in Algonac. But we don't get the sheriff's department to patrol, but they do patrol townships that don't have their own police departments, right?
Yes, correct.
So, but they pay about the same taxes we pay, right? But we don't get the sheriff's department services. So I'm wondering, could we equal that out some by getting extra deputies on the water to at least help us with this problem? We allocate
So,
some of
the
those
city of Algonac isn't getting the free patrols, is kind of what you're saying?
No.
Okay, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth.
Okay,
I'm
no,
trying
I
to
don't.
clarify your
No, what I'm
question.
saying is the townships inland
Yep,
that don't have police coverage, the sheriff's department covers it.
right,
So those are county-funded deputies.
yes,
Okay. But we pay taxes to the county,
right.
but we don't get county services. As far as sheriff's department, we have our own police department.
Right, yeah, you contract with, right, I see
I
what
mean,
you're saying.
Algonac contracts.
Right,
But like in Clay, we have.
okay, you're in Clay, I didn't know, I just
Yeah.
assumed you're in Algonac,
No,
I'm
sir,
sorry.
I'm in Clay.
So,
I understand it, but I never see a sheriff's car, but we pay county taxes, but they receive the services for the sheriff's department patrol in the townships because they pay county taxes same as we do. So
right.
my question is, can some of those deputies get reallocated to help us out, since we don't get police services?
So the road patrol budget and the marine patrol budget,
It's two separate things.
two totally separate things. And there's no way for us to put road patrol deputies in the boats. I mean, like I said, it wouldn't be fiscally responsible when I could put a marine deputy and put 3-4 marine deputies in a patrol boat as compared to a road patrol deputy. So, you know, the services Clay Township gets, you know, obviously we have other services like the jail and other investigative things like that. But, yeah, there's no nexus to make that happen.
And I would also, and I don't mean to jump in, but I would also argue that Clay Township gets, you know, a fairly decent amount of on-the-water services from the sheriff's department's, you know, marine division, because their marine division is in Clay Township,
Right.
so,
No, I agree, just.
right,
Like,
so,
yeah, so this is a huge area if that.
Yeah,
one
yeah.
goes.
so. And they deputized, what, 10 guys
Yeah.
in Clay Township to be
Right.
marine patrol for the sheriff's
But
department.
that comes out of the township.
Well, they're all part of the team, right? So when I go around, when these guys aren't available, I end up answering these questions. So there are approximately 11 law enforcement vessels that are available at any one time throughout the county to do wake enforcement, right? There's one in Clay Township. There are 4 county sheriff vessels. There are 2 Coast Guard vessels, depending on where you are in the AOR. There's a border patrol vessel and an air and marine vessel, and a DNR vessel. I think that's 10 if my numbers are right. 10 or 11. So, so that's what the force laydown is anywhere throughout the county at any one time. So that's kind of where we are, right? So if that helps everybody kind of understand how we do things and how hard these guys are working to race the calls and do wake enforcement and do search and rescue and do, you know, things like alien migration interdiction, which are in my neck of the woods, right? So it's all missions all the time that they're helping work, so I hope that helps understand things too.
Any other questions? I'll be here as well if you guys come up with something.
Thank you, Kevin.
Any other questions?
Anybody else?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before you leave,
Well, one of the things, keep in mind, everyone, if you don't have flood insurance and you should, you better get it now. It's 30-day delay that can hurt you later when you want to get it.
Macomb County made it mandatory, you will.
We'll wait a few seconds for those that want to leave,
You will.
and we'll
Done.
get going again.
From 9 Mile all the way to, South River Road. We used to get off school to go sandbag. It was
Good job.
But they did and it worked. They had that dike, it was mandatory because the way people were putting sandbags on top of seawalls and.
All right, going on with our meeting, we'll take public comments now. Remember, state your name, where you live. You have 5 minutes, and as always, we listen carefully, but we will not comment. Anyone want to speak during public comments? Seeing no one? Okay. Next is our city manager's report. Mrs. Gerstenberg.
Thank you, Mayor Stoneburner. Now, short election update, the primary is March 10th. Anyone interested in running for city council will need to file a nominating petition by mid-April. It's also not too late to get an absent voter ballot. Applications are right here on the credenza for anyone here who would like to pick one up. And if you need more information, please contact the city clerk. Bids, we are currently out for bids for grass cutting services and audit services. Information packets are available from the city clerk and also on the city website. And lastly, a reminder that the Semco gas replacements are starting this month at various locations around the city. You may have noticed that they recently started over by Legos. That's the work that's being done right now. In Algonac, they'll be doing Eckfield, the Algonac Place Townhouses, Fruit Street, Smith and Stone, Howard Street, Scout Drive, and Summers Street. You can contact Semco for more information about that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, need a motion to approve our consent agenda, which consists of our regular meeting minutes for February 18th, 2020. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, we have approved our minutes. We have no no unfinished business. We'll start with new business, and at this time, we see this about this time every year, is approving the Milford Jackson Testimony Trust account summary. And Milford Jackson was an Algonac resident. This fund was established in 1991, and upon his death, it would pay Algonac an annual income. This is the 26th year that the city has received the income, and this year we'll receive $24,187 from the trust. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the Milford Jackson Testimony Trust account summary and authorize the city manager to sign the waiver in the consent form on behalf of the city.
Second.
Discussion?
One of the things that I would like to bring up to council is, I know this year this money's already been allocated to our current budget, but I think, like, in our next fiscal year's budget, I think we should do something different with this money than just put it into our general operating expenses. Like, set it aside for Parks and Rec, or something. This man left us a legacy, and I think we should come up with something to honor it by.
I think that's a good idea, something to think about before we set our next budget. We could talk about that during our budget talks. Anyone else? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, we have accepted the funds. Our next agenda item is the city has received several requests for additional lighting at the Lions Field for the dog park and the sledding hill. And the first step is we need the conduit to get to the lights. This project is a goal that was listed with our DPW, and it is in our budget for this year. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion, we approve the payment for the installation of conduit at Lions Field to Delude Construction, whose address is 5227 Reamer Road in China, Michigan, in the amount of $2,300.
Support.
Discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mr. Gillis?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mrs. Meldrum?
Yes.
Mr. Scarback?
Yes.
Mayor Stoneburner?
Yes.
Mr. Bembas?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next, we're looking at an installation of a splash guard at our water plant. Andy Messina, our water plant superintendent, requested or has stated that we only have a few more inches before we're at the top of the seawall now, and waiting till after it gets too high, it's a little too late to put a seawall cap in. We do have sandbags in place, but we need the additional protection, and it's something that is time sensitive. May I have a motion, please?
I'd like to make a motion to approve installation of a splash guard to protect the water plant, and approve payment to mechanical fabricators in the amount of $2,877.
Support.
Discussion.
Yes, I do. Did this go out for bid, or due to the time sensitivity of it, do we only get one bid?
It's my understanding it was, we only have the one bid, and it's someone we've worked with before. Is that correct?
No, we had a bid from one other company
okay.
also, we got two.
Oh, I'm sorry, I see it now, thank you.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Gillis?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mrs. Meldrum?
Yes.
Scarback?
Yes.
Mayor Stoneburner?
Yes.
Mr. Bempis?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Next, we're being asked to approve a grant application for a placemaking mini grant. Mini grants will provide, this mini grant will provide small impactful projects that encourage and contribute to a stronger sense of place. There's only gonna be 2 per county. We hope we're one of the 2. May I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to approve the I-69 Thumb Region Placemaking Mini Grant application for a concrete cornhole bag toss game in the amount of $2,000.
Support.
Discussion?
Where's the idea of placing these?
In the, Mrs. Gerstenberg?
Thank you, Mayor Stoneburner. Councilman Martin, we were looking to place it in the Riverfront Park.
But one end or the other, or near the gazebo, or any place in mind
We were looking to place it near the gazebo.
in that larger area?
Yes.
And there is a match requirement for this, but it does not mean it's a monetary match. It could be labor or something like that. Any other discussion, questions?
I think it's a great idea. And, I'll leave it.
All right, hearing no other discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? I gotta slow that down for you, Helen, I'm sorry. All right. Put that mini grant in, we're ready for it. Next, we're being asked to approve the submittal of another grant application, and this time it's for 10 fiberglass tables and umbrellas to go in the park. May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve the AARP Community Challenge 2020 application for 10 fiberglass picnic tables and umbrellas in the amount of $25,000.
I'll support.
Discussion?
Yes.
Another question,
Go ahead, Mr. Martin.
are we going to remove the picnic tables that are there now and have these as the 10 in the park? Or will we have an additional 10 on top of what we have?
Well, the intent was to take the 10 and put the picnic tables and put them at Lions Field or in the other parks. Is that correct, Mrs. Gerstenberg?
Yes, Mayor Stoneburner. We may leave 1 or 2 of them. I believe there are 6 or 7 of the older picnic tables left in the park. We may leave 1 or 2, but we're gonna use them at Lions Field and at the Scout Park and Columbia Park.
And 5 of these picnic tables will be ADA compliant, which means wheelchair accessible.
Absolutely.
It's also
Okay.
for the citizens to know these fiberglass umbrellas will withstand winds up to about 70 miles an hour, so don't get concerned that they're gonna get up and float away into the river, because I know that can happen sometimes if there's umbrellas out there, but they've already looked into that, and I don't believe it's gonna be an issue, so we don't have to worry about those flying away anymore.
Mayor Stoneburner?
Yes.
These are very heavyweight tables, so as Councilman Blair had mentioned, they are not going to be easily moved or, and the fiberglass umbrellas, they're tested for high winds up to 70 miles an hour, because obviously on our riverfront, we can't have a cloth umbrella, it would never work. So, that's why there is an expense for them, because of the weight and the sturdiness of them.
I like the fact that there'll be multi-color tables, it adds some life and happiness.
Can we get a sticker on them that says #Algonac Live or Catch the Wave?
Or with our logo?
Yeah, can we get both
Sure.
of them? Because it's a hashtag for social media, so when someone's sitting there with the picture, they can put #Catch the Wave and it goes into a tag for Facebook and then everyone can see it.
I'm sure we can.
Thank you.
Any other questions, discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, submit that grant application, you're gonna be busy. All right, next, we're being asked to pay our bills, the accountants payable and payroll. May I have a motion, please?
I'd like to make the motion to approve accounts payable and payrolls in the amount of $231,222.07 as presented.
Second?
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mrs. Meldrum?
Yes.
Mr. Scarbeck?
Yes.
Mayor Stoneburner?
Yes.
Mr. Bembas?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mr. Gillis?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. We'll pay our bills, which is a good thing. Next is council, or no, it's items for our next agenda. Mrs. Christenberg.
Thank you, Mayor Stoneburner. Right now for the March 17th meeting, we will have probably 2 more grant applications. These to be submitted to the St. Clair County Community Foundation. And we will have a special presentation by Heather Rollins, who's with 2.2.
Thank you. And now for council comments. Councilman Scarbick.
Good evening. So when I first got started getting involved 5 years ago, this council was very divided, and now today we work very well. And I'm very proud to be part of it. I want to thank each and every one of you for what we have accomplished in the city in the last couple of years. And last year we proved we can work together, and I hope that continues this year. As the water levels continue to rise, I hope we can continue to help our neighbors. This is what makes Algonac such a great community, and I want to thank you all and have a good night.
Thank you. Councilman Martin.
I just want to thank the Historical Society for sharing the revenue on that old fire truck, and thank you very much.
Councilwoman Meldrum.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I was really glad to be able to be with you guys tonight.
Thank you. And Councilman Blair.
Good evening. I want to thank everybody for coming out this evening as well. Mr. Westmiller, Captain, thank you so much for the information. I'm going to piggyback on what Councilman Scarbick said as well. I think the water's going to hit here probably pretty quick, so nobody should be shocked or surprised by it, but let's all work together with our neighbors and friends to try and fortify our homes, or maybe the people that can't fortify the homes for themselves. Congratulations again to the Historical Society, and thank you very much for sharing that with our fire department. And last note, we had a boards and commissioners dinner last week. I want to thank our staff, Denise and her lovely staff, to put on another great time to camaraderie with all of our city municipality people and everybody that does everything for the city that may not be notarized for that. So thank you very much, guys, and have a great night.
Mayor Pro Tem Gillis.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I'd like to compliment Councilman Blair on his tie. Second of all, I'd like to thank the Historical Society for their donation. I do happen to know the gentleman who did purchase the fire truck, and he has reassured me that it will remain in the community, and he hopes to use it for a parade vehicle, so I think that's pretty exciting that he's going to do all the restoration work and it's still going to be around. And I'd like to thank everybody who came to the city's boards and commissions dinner. It was a great time to spend with each other. Have a great night.
Thank you. Councilman Bembas.
Leadership is a very special gift, and the Historical Society is part of that leadership in the city. I see you guys sometimes more than I see my own family here doing things for the community, whether it's supporting us at the city dinner or coming here and donating money to the fire department or whatever. You guys are always here, and it's noticed and it's appreciated, and it's called leadership, and we appreciate you guys being leaders of this community. On April 9th, we're having the Easter egg hunt at Lions Hall, and I know Terry's working on that, along with, it's at Lionsfield. If it rains, it'll be at Lions Hall. Thank you, Rob. Terry's working on it with, I forget now.
Diane Shimiluski
Thank you.
and Gail
Yeah,
Anthony.
thank you. And we're having
And Kathy Doan.
And Kathy Doan, of course. On June 9th, we're looking at having a pool party at the Lions Pool. Now, I'm a newbie here. I've only lived here for about 25 years. But some of you have grown up and your parents have grown up here. And from what I understand, everybody who grew up here learned how to swim in that pool. And, you know, it's one of our gems of Algonac. We're looking to raise money to replace some of the tables, get some umbrellas. You know, our poor young, what's that called, not Coast Guard, lifeguards, sit there and they don't even have an umbrella to cover themselves from the sun. And eventually, I'd like to see us replace that fence with something a little bit more modern and nice looking. But we're looking at having a pool party June 9th, and it's not just swimming, but it'll be beer and wine tasting, and we're looking to have a good time. And I'm hoping that, you know, maybe some of the people who don't come to events, you know, because they don't feel they fit in those events, maybe fit in something a little bit more casual like a pool party. So we're looking at that, and you'll see more and more information coming out. There'll be prizes. I know that some council doesn't know it yet, but I've already made the decision. We're gonna get in little canoes and see if we can race each other across the pool.
You know who's gonna win that?
We're gonna let Terry win.
Me.
No, no.
And,
I'm bringing a water
No
jet
pushing
down.
in the pool, it was a lifeguard, I know that's not allowed.
So I'm working on it, Rocky's working on it, Ron Schwark is working on it too. So if you have any questions or you wanna be a part of that, let us know. We can always use help with those kind of things. And thank you everybody for coming out. Have a good night.
And wear your parrot head apparel, I think that'd be
Yes.
quite appropriate for that, that'll be a fun time. There's a couple things coming up here in the next week. The Algonac Clay Ira Trails meeting, there was information that was in the paper and it's been online. But if you're interested in being part of that, they're planning and talking about how to extend or improve and enhance the trails in this area. You can find out more from Cindy at iratownship.org. She will help you with that, but I also know she's at Clay Township too, so you can get a hold of her there if you need to. And on the 14th, we have an Algonac Little League bowling fundraiser at Colony Bowl at 7 o'clock that night. So please look to go to do that. That sounds like a lot of fun, and I know it's usually packed in there when they have those fundraisers, so you might want to sign up early. In April, though, skipping ahead a month, a little bit after our pool party, or Easter egg hunt, our glow-in-the-dark Easter egg hunt, Algonac Alive, which is the group that helps coordinate and have parties for adults and children in our community, and we do fundraising. We have decided we are adopting part of the highway here. It will go from Wright Street to Virginia Street. Wright Street is kind of near, what is it, Huntington Bank? Is that what it's called now? No, it's before North Star. Huntington. But that was an area, you have to have so many miles to do it. So we've adopted that. So if you want to be part of that, we'll be having a training to know how to clean up and be safe on the highway. But we're going to be cleaning up on April 18th, so you can join us for that, and you'll hear more information in the future about when we're going to have our trainings for that, so we're all safe, and we've signed signed our names to everything, so nobody's in trouble if they get hurt. They just hurt. That's it. Also, the end of the month though, I've seen it come up here a few times, the Know Your Ships author, Roger, and can you help me with how to pronounce his last name? Historical Society, you guys have to know how to say it. LeLevere? Okay, something like, okay, and Frater Frank, I know Frater Frank. The presentation will not be about Know Your Ships. The presentation on the 29th is the history of the Great Lakes cruise ships. And there's a lot of history there. That'd be real interesting. So if you're interested, the doors open at 2, it starts at 3, and it's a $5 donation. And is that at the Historical Society or at Algonquin?
It's at Maritime Museum.
At the Maritime Museum. Okay, so that's something to do that weekend. And our boards and commissions and employee dinner recognition was a wonderful evening for everyone, and I know there were several people that didn't come, and I found out it was the cold weather, and I don't blame you. It was pretty cold that evening. So if you couldn't make it, you missed something, but there's always next year. And with that, may I have a motion to adjourn? Councilman Blair.
I may, but just so you know, I had a mentor that got the tie before me, so I was able to piggyback off him, so I have to give him the credit for the tie, and my wife, because she bought it. Besides that, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.